All right, well, we've got a shorter open mic list this week, so we will be able to do the 5 minutes. But if you could keep your read to 2 poems or 5 minutes, we would appreciate that. And I do time, so, please, if you can absolutely keep within that time, I won't have to be obnoxious. And I can get obnoxious, just as Sandra. All right, I'm going to get us started. I think. All right, so I tried 2 things in the last couple of weeks. One was a found poem for the first time, and I did a letter poem, and somehow they're connected. I'm going to go with these. The Growing Stone. Even my death will be contested, one evening absently, by my children recounting my worst failures. Let another part of me assume decay. The author has no friends here. Write a letter to Margaret, sign it with tears. And letter to Margaret. Dear Margaret, the weather lays waste to my plans today. Pouring coffee, I see my last cup is cracked. So very little knowledge passes for wisdom here. How poor I am to my own company. I have no visitors, least of all poems. My dear heart, how do your lovers fare? Have you evicted them by their distance from you and exiled them by your convictions? As one who knows better by experience, I write from my far address, expecting no reply. Yours truly, yours no more, Albert. First up, Dan Liebert, son. All right, come on up. Dan is new, relatively new to the community from San Francisco. All yours, Dan. Right up close.
Appreciate it. This is an illustrated book of poetry I wrote about or involving animals, and I'd like to lead off with a spring-summer poem from it, which is really about loss of innocence, called Who Killed Cock Robin? The morning sang to itself, soothed to robin's egg blue, a sky that had started gray. Flowers opened their mouths and uttered musical musk, while 2 butterflies twirled in a blossoming lilac bush. A robin strutted, note upon a line, his breast puffed as he called all the surrounding air his own. 14 years apiece had not taught my friend and me a way to honor this. He dared, I aimed, and pulled and shot the robin dead with his pellet gun. Fallen, he arched and threshed the grass as if to fly through earth, not air. I said, I don't believe it, tasting bile. What a shot, my friend replied. We'd better put him out of misery. He set the barrel to the bird's head and shot Cock Robin dead. The whole world in the yard skewed, and I emptied like a sieve, knowing at last, clear as the blue glass sky, that I and everyone I loved would die. Nothing else changed. One bird song gone, that was all. Still in their bush, the twin yellow butterflies twirled. And the second one is from a book of poems about baseball called The Pitch is on the Way, and many of them are about redemption and overcoming loss of innocence through the game of baseball. The last poem, which I'll read, is called Sunday at the Park. It's dedicated to Stephen Sondheim, who was kind enough to respond to a copy of it that I sent to him. You may know that he created a wonderful musical called Sunday at the Park with George, about the pointillist artist George Seurat. Sunday at the Park. So vivid green the field below, insistent in the roaring sun, melding all our visions. The big game takes our separate games this liquid afternoon and fuses them in one. Pointillist scene, the park condenses from a swarm of discrete dots, static, yet blending into a map of incipient motion as we disparate fans close to make a crowd. Here's the wind-up. The pitch is on the way. Each attention fastens on the white spot of ball. Not one of us knows what will happen next, how the dots will rearrange, the possibilities limitless, even within the game. Strike three, a pop-up, wild pitch, home run, sacrifice of any species, batter struck or pitcher battered. And what about outside the game? One time an earthquake came and made it all moot. Some insist it's tedious, waiting for the pitch time and time again, but these folks miss the thrill each waiting moment of their waiting lives contains. A fruit, flavor forgotten, but familiar, hung once upon time's tree, moment ripe for peeling, glistening sections spread and savored, tastes possible and actual sucked free. Now another, can you reach it? On a higher, newer branch, slick with dew condensed from your lifetime's passage. The batter readies, crowd sound gathers in, light rays through a lens project a world printed on film and brought to life again. But the reel is stuck, the pitch is still to come. Impossible to believe that if we close our eyes, this technicolor mirage will remain, not the crackling blank of film burned through, image flown in smoke. Yet we all have faith the scene will start anew. The moment our collective winks complete, and this miracle, eyes open again, everything returns to full strength, the film runs on, the batter swings, gravity once more holds up and down. It's like the birthday party when you were 5. Close your eyes, guess the present, but the gift is hidden. So far, the lovely wrap is all. The magician waves, and out pops the white rabbit. Players and spectators all, eyes on the ball. None knows what each pitch will bring. Such pleasure, such dread, anticipating. Every moment of every day, the pitch is on the way. Thank you. If I can just mention quickly, as someone relatively new to the area, I'm really hoping to connect with a poetry workshop group. So if you know of such a thing or have one, please get in touch if it's open to new members. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Next up, Mike Walrich. Thank you.
I'm just going to read this one, so don't panic. This is called Walls Falling, for Victor Hernandez Cruz. In the back room of our house, I practice reciting my poems. My wife taps on the door and says, "You're talking to yourself again." I say, "I'm reading aloud." She says, "You better cut that out or they'll call you away." I'm not talking to myself. I heard you. Stop lying. By now I'm irritated. Doesn't she know poets don't lie? You can't lie and call yourself a poet. You stand up straight and stare directly into the barrels of the guns. You ask the soldiers, "Would you like to hear a poem I wrote especially for this occasion?" And you must start reading immediately before they have a chance to answer. If they shoot you then, you will die doing what you love. If they listen, they may witness Victor's walls falling and hear politicians choking. Thank you.
All right, Lee Darling. Just about right. Hey, I'm a carpenter. I can measure from a distance.
Right. Okay. Hi. This isn't a poem yet, but I think it will be. It's called The Memory Cafe. A friend once misread a sign he passed daily. Interesting, he thought. A memory cafe. Months later, he finally saw the second word. Care. Memory care. I can relate to the idea, though, a memory cafe. We get to choose our memories, however illogical they may seem to others. For example, I talk to my world as I pass through it. I greet dogs and their owners. I tickle pink peonies and exclaim over burnt orange rosebuds that burst into yellow flame. I question squirrels and reply to bird calls. To those 8 turkeys wobbling and weaving down the road ahead, I suggest they choose a lane and stick to it. I'm not surprised then, or it's not surprising then, that yesterday the song "I Talk to the Trees" began spinning in my head. A group I belonged to in college had performed it at a choral event. I knew the first verse, the true intent, the tune, and the intent. And I won't sing for you because you would all leave the room. So I hope you know the words to it. But the second verse, my brain understood the idea, and my memory cafe menu allows a la carte selections. Up came words from Blue Moon. It got me thinking about memories, how puzzling the pieces remembered and those forgotten. For example, in 1974, I attended a concert by the divine Miss M, a.k.a. Bette Midler, at Red Rocks in Colorado. I had never heard a single song by her before that. I had never heard of her before that. She swept onto the stage, hurling F-bombs against the walls, ranting about the amazing setting and obscene expression of awe that echoes in my memory. I cannot tell you a single song she performed, but I remember that dramatic entry. I think it's a surprise, like riding an elevator that suddenly bursts into open air and scales the side of a building. Or that creepy foreboding on a Montana highway when a green and cream El Camino overtook me for the second time, then hung beside me in the passing lane. The driver honked to ensure I got full view of his exposed equipment. Ah yes, the memory cafe. Some items more appealing than others.
A convertible. Next up, Jules.
Okay, I'm featuring seasonal stuff here. And you're maybe wondering maybe where you're going on vacation. And I'm going to give you an option here from song lyrics from the Student Prince. When it's summertime in Heidelberg, Germany. When it's summertime in romantic old Heidelberg, there's beauty everywhere. All the trees are dressed in their Sunday best, and the brass band plays in the square. Every day is like a holiday, strolling underneath the sun. All the Fräuleins there wear flowers in their hair, with a smile to spare for everyone. The fragrant breeze, the linden trees, the promenade where lovers stray. But have a care for someone there, and that one may steal your heart away. strange things happen. On a summer night, when the bells begin to chime, just consider this. It could happen to someone just like you in romantic old Heidelberg in the summertime. Here is a pastime I recommend for mothers, singing lullabies. And I have a big collection of lullabies, or big time things to do in the ragtime era. And here is a lullaby from the animation classic, Lady and the Tramp, supposedly set in the ragtime era. La-la-loo, la-la-loo, oh my little star sweeper, I'll sweep the stardust for you. La-la-loo, la-la-loo, little soft and fluffy sleeper, here comes a pink cloud for you. La-la-loo, la-la-loo, little wandering angel, fold up your wings and close your eyes. La-la-loo, la-la-loo, and may love be your keeper while I keep you safe in my arms. Okay, here's the last one from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel. June is busting out all over, 1956. March went out like a lion, whipping up the water in the bay. Then April cried and stepped aside, and along came pretty little May. May was full of promises, but she didn't keep them enough for some, and a cloud of doubting Thomases was predicting that the summer would never come. Oh, but it's coming, by gum. You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it where it comes, when it comes. You can see it in the ground. You can hear it in the trees. You can smell it in the breeze. Look around. Look around, look around. June is busting out all over. The ladies, the men are paying court. Lots of ships are kept at anchor just because the captains hanker for the comforts they can have in port. Because it's June, just because it's June. The moonlight is shining on the shore, and the girls that were contrary with the boys in January are not as contrary as they were before. Just because it's June. June, June, June. Just because it's June.
It's June.
Thank you, Jules. Next up, Grace Richards. Come on up, Grace.
Come up to where the folded paper. Okay. Well, this poem is inspired by the Greek myth of Leda and the Swan, where Zeus transforms himself into a swan and then seduces a girl named Leda. William Butler Yeats wrote a poem called Leda and the Swan about this myth. So my poem is entitled Leda #MeToo. The poets in their propaganda like to dance around the themes of fate and free will. Ovid and Yeats describe me as a beautiful young girl, specially chosen by Zeus, yet unappreciative and probably ignorant of the fact. My fate was to be born a woman. Against God's will, I don't stand a chance. I am staggering and helpless, unable to push away the swift, cocksure fowl with my vague, terrified fingers. I am surprised by the sudden blow, the swan's great wings beating still as it catches my neck in its sharp beak, as it lays me out on the damp, fertile ground, as it presses its bony avian body close against the softness of my throat and breasts, that I might feel its strange heart beating where we lie. Its dark webbed feet part my unwilling thighs, With hard insistence, it violates and impregnates me with wild Olympian seed. When it's over, I am bloody and bruised, my dress smeared with green algae drooled from its mouth. I am unimpressed by the feathered glory of this god in disguise, by the deception and artifice he undertakes for the act of rape. The poets say I was mastered by this brute blood of the air, but I was there, and that is only their delusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Next up, Randy Luce. Luce. Okay.
This poem was inspired by the music from a live album, Ella and Duke at the Côte d'Azur. It's the only poem I have. So, Ella and Duke at the Côte d'Azur. Ella stands before the band. Duke, one finger on one key, then two, plays a phrase that Monk is gonna dig. Then the drummer sachets in between the notes, and the bass walks in. Ella stands before the band, her plain-spoken face upward, her girlfriend voice forward. It climbs and pulls the band behind her. She sings, could it be, could it be, could it be? Do-wah, do-wah, do-wah. And the music's jumbled up with the heat and the sweat of everybody's bodies. And her words are syllables, and her syllables are words, and the music's jumbled up. Mackie, 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 oh we swung it, yes we swung it. And the music's jumbled up, it's her rhythm and her speed. It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. Ella's on top, she's out front. We swung it, yes we swung it, we swung old Mackie down. Can we go, can we go? No. Her head is tilted up. She's making something. Oh, one more. Ella stands before the band. Beautiful, baby.
All right, Joshua, come get him.
That's all the intro I get.
Last month, he came as the ambassador of the National Limerick.
ALS, the American Limerick Society. He made it up. I like to go from heavy up to somewhat light, so I'm going to break the 2-poem rule. It's 2 poems or 5 minutes, right?
All right.
Okay, are you going to start?
You get the laugh.
Okay. Cool. This one is called The Hurt. I expect you to hurt me, she says, since that is where I come from. The home that is not my home. The chain of life around my neck. The place where rules cannot be broken. Her eyes are brown and flat as Kansas soil. I do not want to go back, she says in a plain voice. But I feel that I must, to bring my mothers and sisters over to this side of the light, although they will not come. My brothers are lost, having turned to the dark brilliance. She looks down at her tea and smiles. You probably think I'm crazy. No, I reply, I think you are hurting. She looks up, eyes brave. I am not hurting, she says softly. I am free. I love my pain. I embrace it. Take it with me to the store and on walks along the river. Listen to it, never interrupt. Bring it Christmas presents and Valentines. I do not know what to say, nor does she. I'm free, she whispers at last, and sips her tea. Walk to the river. The way is over deeded land. The act is quiet. Boots, walking stick, a meadow, a gravel road, a path slanting into the woods, dark, wild, familiar. I have been here before. This is supposed to do something to me, but what? Make the problems go away? Turn back the tide of time? Restore innocence? The path is not long, the woods chaotic and still, until the path falls into the river, 5 hues darker than the sky. The water clear and opaque simultaneously, fluid patterns, fleeting as thoughts, and I see why I have come. And this last one is called, oddly enough, Final Exam. Final Exam. We have taken the last 1,000,000 years and compressed them down into this little movie. Running time, 1 minute, 26 seconds. Let's take a look. There, that didn't take too long. Leaves one a little dizzy, eh? Now, did you see yourself? I thought not. Your country? Not even a fleeting glimpse. How about your religion, your job, your politics? That wonderful drive in the mountains that reconciled the two of you to the bone before your next stumble. Yes, that does stand out. Do you remember your next breath? The first moment of every awakening, the moments between moments. I'm afraid you'll have to go back and take the course over. Take better notes this time. It helps. See you at the next exam.
All right, next up, Paul Halupa. Come on up, Paul.
Red Rock Rising. In a dream, red rock rises in a blur of blue wind. I am a boy in Utah, or is it Arizona? I cannot be certain, but I am young and happy in a time before the edges of the world frayed with age, when breath was nothing more than graces and vista, and I, a red-tailed hawk, lifting into April. Sometime in 1958, a wide moon rises above a vast and shadowy desert as crimson and copper dusk bleeds onto indigo mountains. I am 5. I ride the back seat of a green 57 Plymouth. My father drives into the twilight, awaiting 1,000,000 limpid stars. Steers with one hand, a limp arm slung over the top of the wheel as if the world were under control. The radio plays and the music fades in a blur of sublime distance. Dad and Mom talk as I tire, stretch out along the familiar seat, draped in a dream of permanence. Time to sleep, which in 58 was about all I knew of time. And this last short poem, called The Long Oregon 126, might stir up for you a spot on the map that you remember from your travels to and from Sisters. Perhaps, perhaps not. Along Oregon 26. Along a curve of Oregon 126, between Santiam and Sisters, a backlit stand of trembling trees shimmers in sun, and a meadow glistens against rising mountains. The only thing more beautiful than aspen in May is the memory of those aspen mid-autumn, saffron leaves like starfall adrift among golden galaxies. Thank you.
All right, we have, with our features, we have another 6 readers, so we're just going to keep going. Robert, I'm not sure I can read your last name here. Boyce. Okay, come on up, Robert.
It's nice to be here in front of my peers, at least in age. I have two poems. The first one could be a sonnet. It's called Rails and Braille. Before me lay 1,000 miles of rail, so twisted, so heaped, such mangled deceit it was, perhaps 5 miles in length, my bed, so frail, was sunk a sinkhole with much weight, because building control had begun without a bit of planning. So, is this to be the greatest farce of my century? Doubt, confusion, manic thoughts. In circles now free, as time and space unite beyond what I know. One end of track, now held by me, is snapped far back, uncoiled toward my infinity, grown so bright with final delight of time unwrapped. My life is now controlled through knowing rail is neither rigid mail or steel, but braille. Something completely different from that, but I'd rather write stuff on a serious side. So, just so it's not depressingly serious, I like to call it voluptuously serious. But don't let that distract you. This is called Some Are Like the Rain. Some are like the rain, and some like the snow. Some live in pain, and some never grow. And some are like the weather, changing all the time, never for better, and stuck in their grind. And some are like the night, lost in the dark, forsaking the light, their souls not marked. But I'm like the sun, shining all the time, no matter the weather, be it day or night. And I'm not saying I'm never moody or unkind. Sometimes I'm scared, and sometimes just blind. And I try like the sun, just to work and play, no matter the weather, be it night or day. But some are like the rain, and some cold as snow. Some stay in pain, and some never grow. But we are a community here, and some of us love the rain, and some of us melt the snow. Some of us heal pain, and some of us love to grow. And we shine like the sun with strong, joyous rays above the weather and beyond the night and day. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So, do we have our representative from Barnes & Noble? We certainly do. The best of Barnes & Noble,
That's not true.
always a barista, right?
Yes.
All right. If you can't get good coffee,
What's her name?
Maddie,
Maddie, excuse me.
yeah, if you can't get good coffee here, you can yell at me. That's totally okay. All right. I'm just going to read 2 of them that I wrote. He whispered, wait, shoot, man.
Up to the mic.
He laughed in a melody with the spring breeze, whistling through maple trees while we walked, hand in hand, speaking in low voices about everything the world would give us, as though scared that if the wrong ears overheard, it would be snatched away. He whispered in my ear, I will love you until the stars fade to blackness, as we sat on the rooftop of my childhood home, boarded up and abandoned by the world, but still filled with memories, from a time when the dots of light overhead only foretold victory. He smiled as we woke up, drenched in sunlight streaming through the half-closed curtains. Even whispers were too loud, so the only words spoken were in a slight gleam escaping his eyes as he brushed my hair back from my face and kissed the end of my nose while I rubbed sleep from my eyes. I loved someone who made himself a sun I revolved around. I now wander aimlessly through space. And then the second one. This body is the only home I do not leave. Encased in skin and bone, grown by a mother, it changes to better accommodate the woman I become. So while I may let you stay for a night or two in my spare bedroom, do not forget to whom the house belongs.
Maddie, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll come back when we're back in October. All right. So we've got one more reader from our group. And then, Stephen, are you going to introduce our features?
Sure.
Okay. Next up, Dr. Kay, and I'm Runyon. Come on up, Kay.
Hi, everyone. This is my first memoir published, and I'm going to read you a chapter from it. And this is me, and this is my pit bull, which will be mentioned in the chapter. And he was given to me when he was 8 weeks old by a neighbor. We moved an awful lot, so this is our chapter, or my chapter, when we moved from Arkansas back to Texas. I had just turned 8 years old. It was Uncle Ed who had recommended that Daddy contact the principal of the school in Hart, Texas, about working there. The principal hired Daddy to drive the school bus and hired Mother to cook in the school cafeteria. All I could think about was that I hoped we would have enough food to eat when we moved to a different place. On the way to Hart, we had to stop and retrieve our dog, Spookin. We had left him with Daddy's brother, Uncle Fred, when we moved to Arkansas. There was only one problem. Uncle Fred didn't want to give Spookin back. He's my dog now and you can't have him, he told my mother. Best cow dog I ever had. We were staying with Mother's sister, Aunt Ruby, who lived across the woods from Fred. Spookin's going with us to West Texas, Mother vowed. Fred may think he's keeping my dog, but he's got another thought coming. She had a plan, and I knew nothing was going to stop her, because she had that look where her mouth was like a pencil line across her face, and her blue eyes had taken on a hard expression. Come on, K-Doll, let's go, she said, insisting that Aunt Ruby and I go with her to get Spookin back. I was afraid. I had heard stories about Uncle Fred getting drunk, going into town, and threatening to shoot anybody who crossed him. He was constantly feuding with Aunt Ruby and her husband. One time, after yet another property dispute, Fred drove over to their cow pasture, backed his pickup truck right up to the fence. Then he tied a rope to the gate and dragged that gate down Main Street so Aunt Ruby's husband, Sandy, who was inside the coffee shop, could see what he had done. Half of Ruby and Sandy's cows were soon wandering down the road. For good measure, Fred also punched Sandy in the face. I knew I had good reason to fear Uncle Fred. Mother, Aunt Ruby, and I started walking through the pine trees and underbrush toward Uncle Fred's place. The brush scratched my legs. I want to go back, I whined. Fred's going to shoot us. Shut up and be quiet, Mother said, because if he hears us, he just might shoot us. Yeah, he ain't got a lick of sense, added Ruby. As we got closer, we could see his shack through the trees. I looked around for bigger trees that I might be able to hide behind if he pulled out his shotgun. I had touched some of the trees and I smelled the sap on my hands, which were now sticky. This area of East Texas was known as the Piney Woods for good reason. I wanted to turn around and run back to Aunt Ruby's house, but just then Mother put 2 fingers to her mouth and whistled. Our dog Spookin came running. He remembered her whistle. He jumped into her arms, almost knocking her backwards. He was so skinny and starved looking that I suspected he had only gotten scraps to eat, whatever was left after Uncle Fred's 7 kids finished their plates. We headed back to Ruby's house and left for the high plains of West Texas early the next morning. Years later, I found out that Uncle Fred had been furious when he arrived home to find Spookin' gone. He had grabbed his shotgun, but his wife and kids made him put the gun down. He still intended to get the dog back, but we left before he had a chance. Hart was a small farming town with a population of about 250 people. There weren't any vacant houses, but the principal said he could have a house fixed up for us to move into before school started. In the meantime, we moved in with my Uncle Ed and his family. Uncle Ed's 5 kids were not churchgoers, and they thought Ben and I needed to learn a few things about grown-up pleasures. "Let's go smoke a cigarette," my cousin Gary said one day as Ben and I played outside. "Why?" we both asked in unison, stunned. Gary laughed and said, "What? You ain't never smoked?" I had been taught that smoking was a sin, but the idea intrigued me. Gary knew where to find his daddy's cigarettes, and soon we were all sitting behind the cattle watering tank out of sight of the house. I watched all my cousins smoke and listened closely when they told me what to do. I took a draw on an unfiltered Camel cigarette and inhaled the smoke like they said, and then I did it again. My head immediately started spinning and I began coughing. I stumbled back to the house with the warning that I'd better not tell. I felt sick and Mother couldn't figure out what was wrong. She must have had her suspicions though, because she kept asking me what I'd done. I was afraid to tell her because I didn't think I could take a whipping. I was already feeling the worst I'd ever felt. I spent the rest of the day laying in bed with my stomach roiling. Is that? Okay, thank you.
All yours, Steve.
Okay, well, this has been a wonderful reading. I've got 2 that I'm going to read to you. Those of you who know me know that, among other things, I write dream poems, poems that were out of dreams. They've poured out of me since I was a kid. I mean, I would often wake up in the middle of the night with a poem already fully formed in my head and usually couldn't get it down fast enough. I've gotten better at that. So these are 2 recent poems from dreams that I wrote. Superlative. Brazen nose and plump, lush lips, onyx eyes and butterscotch skin. Oh, gracious lady, down in the shadows, when you recover, please let me in. Drawn in the moment, lost in the memory, found in the feelings of love's lost lament. Superlative being, ultimate pleasure. Are you a dream or just longing's intent? And this one's a little different. The prescient view. I knew you'd be the biggest before anybody knew. I told all my friends, but they said, yeah, sure. But it usually came true. My perceptions were real. That magic was in me. I was the real deal. I wish I could strike a flame from those ingenious days, with fire so high that screams so loud, if only you can hear what I say. Take me back to the wonder and glory of the intuitive nature I had, sensing those things in our rock and roll world before their time was at hand. The magical meaning of feeling it come, so prescient, so furtive, so grand. With such inspiration, it drove what I did. I knew that my time was at hand. But as you grow older, that magic does fade. You no longer have the clear view into things that may come. That's reserved for the young. That magic's no longer for you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to bring back each of our featured readers for about another 3 or 4 minutes and to close us out today. And Veronica, do you have something you'd like to share with us?
This is not a poem. I just picked up a few things from book number 5, which is called The Gift. And I have 5 memoirs. When you live as long as I have, I'm 75 now, you have a lot to say. So this was a couple of years ago, actually, a little bit more than a couple of years ago. But I was trying to recover some of my Portuguese language, and I was looking for a pen pal to write to in Portugal. And so here we go. During my lunch break at work, I checked my emails, and there was one from a 99-year-old man who lived in Lisbon, Portugal. I was impressed that someone so old even knew how to turn on the computer. I sent him an email. Please respond. I'm looking forward to establishing a correspondence. 2 days later, I got an email back from the old man, the 99-year-old man. Sorry, he wrote, but I'm not 99 years old. I'm 12 years old. I was trying to see how many women would answer my ad if I said I'm 99. Antonio. I wrote back to him. I said, Antonio, it's okay if you are only 12 years old. Can we just keep writing to each other? I need to practice my Portuguese. He didn't write back. Remember 2000, the year 2000, when it became the year 2000, it was like the end of the world, okay? I refused to get prepared like everybody else for the deadly arrival of the year 2000. My boyfriend stocked the kitchen closets with canned food, and the freezer had enough meat to feed an army. If it was the end of the world, the food wasn't going to do squat for us. His mom came to visit us, and she sat quietly reading and crocheting. She would shrug her shoulders and give a faint smile when asked if she was worried. I could be wrong, but I believe the reason she came to spend the end of the year with us and didn't leave until January 5th was because, like so many, she probably thought it was going to be the end of the world, and she wanted to be near her son. God bless my patients. Sometimes they take everything I say literally. Josephine, a 59-year-old who saw her plastic surgeon every 3 years, was a good example. She stopped by our office one afternoon to purchase another bottle of coenzyme Q10. I had to ask, Josephine, you bought a bottle a week ago. Is it all gone already? I have been taking 10 a day. 10 pills a day? I interrupted her, dumbfounded. You're not supposed to have more than 1 a day. And why not? She smiled confidentially. You told me it reverses the aging process. I took her to my treatment room, and to her disappointment, I explained it helped reverse aging at a cellular level. Not that she was going to be young again. I have a lot of stories going like that because I just don't put their real name down. Have you ever been to Brazil or spoke to a Brazilian person? They love to sing and dance. Everything is happy, happy. And anyway, there was a flood in Brazil, and I was teaching someone to speak Portuguese. And so he was going to Brazil to get, he was a stone smuggler, okay? And so he was bringing stones into the United States, and he smuggled them in from Brazil. And then there was a big flood in Brazil at a certain area, Minas Gerais, and the people lost the schools, everything was just traumatic for them. And so he tried to send some help. And he asked me to talk to the priest that lived in that town. So he asked me to call Father Rosario and find out if he had gotten all the items that they had sent to help the children at school. So when I called, Father Rosario was in. He said, please tell Jonathan, which was the guy, the stone smuggler, we received the care packages and we are all in debt to his kindness. And you, what is your name, he asked. You work with him. You are his friend, right? His happy-go-lucky tone of voice That's why I say, if you know Brazilian, right? Bounced up and down as if in any second you'd start singing the best of the samba. My name is Veronica, and yes, I'm Jonathan's friend. He said, it's a pleasure to speak with you, Veronica. Are you coming over today? Maybe in the future I can do that, I said. I have never been to Brazil, but I would like to someday. My mother was born in Manaus. That is nice. I like Manaus. I was there once. It's the country of the monkey area. Now, would you come over today, okay? I left. He was funny. I'm sorry. But Brazil is very far away from the United States. I can't just go there today. Not too far away. If you take an airplane now, you can stay with me in my house. Sound like a plan, and it's simple request from a child, maybe. Thank you so much for the invitation, I said, but I really can't leave right now to go to Brazil. I have patients to take care of. Please, come over now, please. Okay, I have to go, I said apologetically. I mean, back to my work. I work. I'm sorry. Bye-bye. I felt horrible hanging up on him. He had to be a grown man for sure, because he was a priest. Maybe he was a very young priest, still a child at heart. To even imagine, I could just abandon everything, pop onto a plane, and be there in a couple of hours. Okay. That,
Thank you, Veronica.
Oh, you're
Emily,
welcome.
you have something for us?
Thank you, everybody, for reading. It was enjoyable. And I'd like to say Veronica's books are really fun and sometimes horrific to read, but they're wonderful. Okay, I have a couple of poems here. Stitching time together. There is no before or after. We have merely strung things together to look like a seamless piece of fabric, and we named it time. We supplied it with weight and mass and invented history to give it meaning. We added in a soupçon of value, bias, law, appreciation, and drew conclusions and made declarations about more than we can ever know. If, as quantum physics suggests, there is no stream of time, only events, then we must find new ways to explain ourselves to the universe. One moment. This is written before I started reading about quantum physics, but it's interesting because it's not that different. One moment. We exist where the fabric of eternity is pierced by this moment. It stretches out as far as we can imagine, behind and ahead, and for as much as we can see. We live within only a heartbeat, a mere blink, in the inhalation of a single breath. Mostly we do not see where we stand. More often it is shadows of what has been, aspirations of what will be. Every instant is a lifetime, a new beginning, different yet familiar. What we know is predicated on what we understand of the strands of moments, of how they are connected, and at the end it culminates in all that has gone before and dreamed will be, of our past and future, a one moment in the unrelenting now. This is one of those poems, like Stephen mentioned, that kind of came full blown. It just popped into my head. It's called "O Bright Felicity." O bright felicity, eloquent joy, release me from today's sorrows unto days past, when yet I was endowed with youth and abundant future, when stars illuminated my life and bestowed upon me gifts of awareness, love, and affinity to all and everything. O bright, O swelling buds and fulsome growth of vast expanses, yet unlimited by boundaries, but gracious mountains and silvery rivers, abounding with energy and spirit. Everywhere there is life and beauty, precious gifts from nature. Veneration is the least we can do to merit such wonders, to hold them in reverence, not indifference, to be good stewards of all we see, of this earth, of this life, this marvel, this glorious world, our home, the one place we must tend to care for as much as it nurtures us, our mother planet. We thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again, Amalie. So, I want to thank everybody who read today. It's a wonderful reading. Thank you all. Give yourselves a hand. So that's our event. Again, we're taking the summer off, so we'll be gone July, August, and September, but we will be back October 13th, and we hope to see you then.
Art in the park.
Huh?
Art in the park.
Right in the park.
Art in the park.
Art.
Which corner?
Art in the park. Oh, yes, that's right. The Art in the Vineyard, July 6th. Many of us will be there selling our books. And the Lane County Fair, July 28th. We'll be selling our books there too, at the Poetry Corner, part of Bill Sullivan's Oregon Authors Tables. So if you want to come out and see us there, that'd be great. Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank you.
July 6th.